Welcome students of 4-1, 1A, welcome, 1B, welcome. Today we're talking about community interaction and especially about social interaction, something you guys do actually every day. So we're talking about social interaction and community interaction, and you can find the topics of this video, of course, in paragraph 2 of your book. So get your book in front of you. That makes it more helpful and you can see what I'm talking about. You find this in chapter 2, paragraph 1 of your book about social interaction, and then especially part 7 about conflict, die sourcenan die conflicten, sources of conflict. Yeah? And conflict can be verbal, that you're in a fight. It can be physical, yeah, bota bringa literalmente, you're fighting literally. You can fight with words. You can feel a tension, you feel, bota senti un tensión, pa un otro gente. You can feel a tension with another people, with other persons, but you also can feel conflicts with another person. But you can also feel conflicts with another group. So you can feel conflict with a person, also called an individual, but you can also feel a conflict with a group. Yeah, it can be felt with a person, but it can also be felt with a group of people. And that can be, as you know right now, can be an informal group, or that can be a formal group when you feel the tension with that group. Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. And there has been a part 1 of this video, and we're now going to continue with the rest of our topic of this part of chapter 2 about conflict. And the learning outcome of this paragraph is as follows. The learning outcome, kiko Mr. Sinha, kita meta parti di capítulo 2. What is the goal of this part 7 of chapter 2? Learning outcomes, kita meta, identificar, susanan potencial di conflicto in differente contexten. Yeah, in different situations. So context is like a situation. Might it being at school, might it being in your sports team, might it being in your friend group. You can have all kinds of reasons why you have a conflict. That's what we're talking about. And we're going to identify different potential sources of conflict. And everything we talk about, try to connect it with your own life, with what you experience actually in your life. During school, during sports, during meeting up with your friends group every day, during having break at the Amodonita location with your friends from Amodonita or Sky. So we talked about ideas, attitudes, needs, yeah, necesidadnan, values, valornan, views, miranan, desires, personalidadnan, and this can be sources of conflict. So these differences that you see here and here, and that you can see even here, these can be sources of conflict. So these differences possibly can lead to conflict. These differences that you can see here, these can lead to conflict. We always have these differences, so we always have different ideas or views, mira, or needs, necesidad, but sometimes they're so different that they can lead to conflict. I'm going to talk about that more. Well, conflict in the family. So you have a family, both on mama, un tata, in wela, in tawela, un tio, of un tanchi. But your parents can also be in conflict. Bo tata, ibo mama, porta di un conflicto. Dico, a wife may be in conflict with her husband if he doesn't assist with working around the house. If he doesn't assist, actually, this can be a source of conflict. Or, yeah, paying enough towards the family's groceries or rent, yeah, or expenses. So if the man doesn't contribute enough to the expenditures, yeah, this can lead to certain issues, a conflict between the wife and the man and the woman, the mom and the dad. But if he doesn't help enough with raising their children, this can give conflict. A husband, the man, itata, may be in conflict with his wife, ikasa, if she is not keeping a tidy house, managing the household expenditure well, or raising the children well. And all these causes that you can see here can be reasons for there existing a conflict, being created a conflict between the parents, a conflict between the mom and the dad of the family. Yeah, maybe not always, but this can be a source of conflict. Yeah. So if dads don't take care of the children well, if dads don't they don't pay attention to the household enough, or don't raise the children enough, this can lead to a conflict between the mom and the dad, possibly. Yeah. So what you can see here, if this isn't present enough, this can lead to conflicts between the parents, actually. And if this happens, there is a conflict between the mom and the dad, and it becomes so much that there is physical abuse between the mom and the dad, or between the dad and the mom, or it can lead to the mom and the dad separating, having a divorce together. So this is an example of that. And if that happens, this can have great consequences for the child. You can have a divorce, and the influence on the life of the child can be significant. It can have great consequences grandi pa emotional. There can also be a conflict between the parents and the children. Be a conflict met mij emotional I mayorna. And this can also have great consequences for the future of the children. Yeah. E por ting porta consequenze non grandi para il futuro, para emotional. There can be conflict between parents and children if Kiora emotional are disrespectful or do not carry out their household chores or duties. Yeah, and this can have great consequences. The next topic is the generation gap. And the generation gap, like you can see here, is a term used in social studies and sociology, used by describir in which people in different generations, generacional diferente, often have different ideas, eran diferente tocante e manera cosnante pai, how things should be done. So the generation gap is a term used to describe the way in which people in different generations often, opimas bianan, opimas bes, have different ideas, de eran diferente tocante in manera cosnante pai y in manera cosnante de baihasi. Yeah, the things should be done, how the things should go. Different generations have different ideas about those, and we also call that the generation gap. And this means the following. This means that parents may want their children to follow their ideas and conform to the same, so adapt, behave, comportar to the same values, valornan, children may have a different understanding or viewpoint about. So parents may want their children to behave in the same manner. So I explained just a few videos ago that conformity is something that a lot of people do, adhere by, ang dahasi hopimas and the masi as hopimas, pero diferente generacionan, ting diferente adianan, kikita normal, kikita e comportación normal. Yeah? And different generations may have different ideas about values and what conforming means. What are the rules? What are the standards? What is the social pressure? What are the beliefs? What are the rules in society? Different generations may have different ideas about what ideas and what valor, kiko valor nan, to behave. Yeah, so it's concerning behavior. Different generations may have different ideas about what is normal and what ideas to conform to. Yeah, and what is normal and how should we actually behave. Different generations may have different ideas about this behavior. And this we also call a generation gap. Yeah? And these values of different generations may be very different. Yeah. For instance, most people will think that it's normal to have blue hair, but some persons, some generations might have an idea that the choice to have pink hair is quite normal also. But most people will tend to choose to conform, but the choice to conform also may a point of discussion in having a generation gap. Yeah, so this may be an issue also. Children may think their parents have old-fashioned ideas, and they may have new ones, which their parents seem not to understand. In Mayornan, no te comprende ese aquí. E no te comprende e valor nan novo, e idea nan novo, pa e generacionan siguiente. Yeah, so the children may think their parents think idea nan view, en Mayornan think idea nan old-fashioned, and the new generation may have new ideas, idea nan novo, e valor nan novo, which their parents seem not to understand, like you can see here. What I just mentioned, you can read that here. Yeah? And the parents seem not to understand these values that are new and these ideas that are new. Yeah? E Mayorna no te comprende, e valor nan novo, e idea nan novo. And this can create a generation gap. And you might experience it yourself too, actually, with your parents or even your grandparents who have a different set of ideas, values, lornan, ideas, ideen. And this can create a gap or even the generation conflict if this gap widens and the understanding becomes less instead of more. Also, siblings can have a conflict together. There's often some rivalry between brothers and sisters. Yes, this starts at a young age, and it can start from a feeling of being advantaged or privileged by one of the parents, and rivalry would be empapimento concurso, or even concurrencia. And this rivalry between children can go on and on for decades and decades on. And also can create a source of a kind of conflict between siblings, between the children of a family. Members of a group can also have a conflict. So the larger the number of people in a group can be, the more likely, probable, that there will be a conflict at some point. This has a simple reason because all of the people in a group have differences, and there may all be particular situations that lead to conflict. Yeah, so una situación particularmente, for example, if certain members behave inappropriately, think papimento exequita inappropriatamente. Yeah, significa también in English, if people do not behave like it should be expected at that moment. And this, with a larger group, can actually lead to a moment of conflict. Conflict with the leadership. There can also be conflict between a group's members and the leadership. The leadership, that is liderazgo. Yeah? The leader of the group. In a sports team, the captain. In an informal group, a friend who organizes stuff. Yeah? But also in an office, it can be the manager, like we see. This might be possible exequita di con per se a leadership, a liderazgo feels that members are not following the group's rules, or because the members feel that the leadership is ineffective or inadequate in some other way. Inadequate significa think papimento inadequat, not enough, and ineffective would be in papimento ineffectivo. And if the leadership or the groups experience that, it can create a conflict between the leadership e membro di gruppo aqui. Yeah. So if this happens, the members will clash with the leader, as you can see in the pictures next to me. And it can also be in an office, but this can also happen in a sports group. When they don't agree with each other or the leader, this can create conflict. Finally, we can also have conflict between groups. So groups can have different desires, metanan, wishes, goals, metanan, and views, miranan, just as much as individuals. Groups can also be in conflict for particular reasons. An employees group may be in conflict with a workers group, un gruppo di obrero trabalhador, tem un conflitto con un gruppo di employado, the people who give the work. A mining group where they get stuff under the ground like coals or iron or even oil may be in conflict with an environmental group like in Curacao. A local residence group might be in conflict with a local government group. I habitante têm um conflito com o grupo de governo e groups that hope mas têm conflito com meta, deliberately, com propósito. Gangs are often deliberately in conflict, and everybody who watched Narcos or knows something about the gangs can imagine something about that. Yeah, so groups, and next to me you see 4 different kind of groups can have conflicts because they have different interests. Yeah, and our environmental group, the Knuckelman, has a different interest from Tubase or the refinery of Curacao, because one wants to make money and one wants to be healthy. Yeah, so these groups, logically, when you think about it, they have conflicts with each other because their interest, their purpose, and meta, da hobby differente. The groups that you can see next from me. So we talked about the learning outcomes. In this section, you will learn to identify potential sources of conflict in different contexts, like you can see here. Different contexts, sources of conflict, and you have to be able to identify those to make sure you can. This could be a possible question during the test. And we talked about this paragraph, part 7 of chapter 2 of paragraph 1 we just saw. If you have questions, ask them below or during class, or when you see me walking through the grounds of our schoolyard. And I hope you ring the bell and you subscribe below to my channel. Have a nice weekend, have a nice week, and enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you fresh and energized during the coming week or later tomorrow.